watching Niagara Pro Tips. In this video, we're going to talk about Niagara Recover. Now, Niagara Recover is the system within the Niagara Cloud Suite to allow you to automate backups and host them offsite in the Niagara Cloud Suite servers. Niagara Recover allows for 5 backups that will roll as they cycle through. And within that, you can set one as a preferred backup, which will be held indefinitely while the other 4 slots roll. There is not a limit on the size of each backup at this time. The limit is on the number, those 5. So on my screen here, you can see that I have the portal open to my Minnesota labs, the 2 that are on the Niagara Cloud Suite. And we're going to take a look specifically at the Minneapolis lab station. I'm going to start by clicking over here onto the Recover button. And that's going to take us to the list of the backups that have been, regularly taken within the Cloud Suite for that station. The first thing I want to talk about is how to set a preferred backup. To do that, we're going to click on this button here. That's the Edit button. We're going to pick one. In this case, we're going to pick the latest one. There have been some changes. It's known good, so I want to work from there. I'm going to give it a note here. Known good station as of November 3rd. November 3rd, 24. And then I'm going to check this box here. Mark this backup as preferred and save. So now what's going to happen is as backups come in on the set schedule, it's going to rotate through those remaining 4 slots while this one here remains. If you want to change the backup, the preferred backup at some point in the future, what you'll need to do is you'll need to go back in there and remove that checkbox and click Save. And then you can go to your next one that you want to set as preferred. Mark that one as the preferred, and then add a note if you'd like to. A note is not required, but it's a good practice. So on to downloading this. There's a nice big download button here. Let's go ahead and click there. We'll give the computer a moment to process that. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and click Save. This is going to save this to my Downloads folder. And what we're going to need to do now is we're going to need to move that into the Backups folder. So I'm going to bring these 2 windows over here and you'll see what I need. So here's what we just pulled. I'm going to carry this over into my Backups folder. Now that's the User Home Backups folder. I'll expand this so you can see the path. So it's users, my user, Niagara 414 is what I'm working in, Vicon, and then backups. So let's close that there. And that takes us over. Our next step is going to be in Workbench. One quick note here. If you want to delete a backup out, you can just click Delete right there. Easy enough. So let's go over to Workbench and see what we need to do next. All right, now that we're over here in Workbench, I've now downloaded that folder or downloaded that backup and moved it over into the appropriate folder. Here's my file system, user home backups, right? So that's where we were, and here is what we just did right there. So we're going to double click on that guy, and it's going to come up saying, hey, this is a decrypted file. You need to decrypt it in order to be able to continue. Now here is a point where I'm going to touch on in just a little bit about whether you're using the system passphrase or a password. This is set in the configuration of the backup channel of the Cloud Suite service. And you can pick by default, it uses the system passphrase. However, you can set it to use a password instead. Okay, so when we take a look at the backup file, there's not necessarily a lot of information we can garner from here. Well, I should say there is a lot of information we can garner from here, but it's not necessarily, things we need much. If you do want to go in and check, what all services, jar files, etc. are used in this backup, this is the place you can go to check it. But now, let's move over to restoring that backup. All right, so now we're in the distribution file installer on the platform of the Jace, and like any other, we can now go in and select which backup we want to restore the station to, and then click install. That's the same process as it would be with a local backup. One note here is that this backup is not going to appear until we follow through the decrypt process in the user home backups folder. So that's why I made sure to show you that first. That'll be the first step of it. So let's go ahead and take a look at the property sheet of the service, the Cloud Suite service, and you can kind of see how to configure the channel, right? We're just going to go in here, view the AX property sheet, expand the channels, right? That's where it's at. Expand the backup channel. And then we're going to take a look at channel configuration. This is where the transport configuration is under, right? You can see how it's passed through, that sort of thing. But policies is really what we're taking a look at. So I'm going to expand the default backup policy. And this is where I'm going to set the interval. How often does it happen? That's under execution time, right? By default, it's set to once a week plus or minus an hour. That randomization time, it just kind of helps to make sure not too many things are happening at exactly the same time all the time, right? Trigger mode of daily means that you pick which days it is, right? This is not unlike a lot of the scheduling things and other tools within Niagara. You can set it to an interval taking place on which specific days and how frequent, and between which times of day if you'd like. You can also set it to manual, where the only way that it'll actually run is where you run and fire the trigger to do that. I'm gonna leave this back to the daily type, randomization 1 hour, and then time of day being 2 o'clock in the morning every Sunday. Now, as far as the encryption key goes, so this is what I touched on previously. I have this set to password. By default, it's system passphrase. The reason you might want to set it to password is, if you want to be able to pass backups off to, other employees of the, or I should just say really any other users. If you want to be able to pass it off to other users, you can set a password that is not dependent on the passphrase and gives you kind of an extra layer of security there if that's what you'd like to do. There could be other reasons as well where you would prefer a backup over a passphrase, or a password over a passphrase, but that's the default is the system passphrase. And then just like in the backup service for local backups, you have your exclude files and your exclude folders. You can just work through there. So that's where we go to set it up and work through how we want this backup automation to happen. Any changes, obviously, then you'll go ahead and click save. All right, well, thank you for watching this video. I hope you derived something from it. And go ahead and take a look at the other Niagara Cloud Suite Pro Tips videos we have out there. Myself and my colleagues have put out a handful to try and help everybody make best use of this pretty powerful tool.